hope that we will have a meaningful kind of deliberations after the presentation by the resource person Shubhani Chatterjee from the Action for Autism, a very reputed organization that has been working in the area of autism spectrum disorder for several years. So before I hand over to Shubhanit, I just wanted to briefly, if Harish, you could just make me the co-host, I'll share, would like to share my screen.
Sujay, can you make the sir as a host for?
Sir, you're the co-host, sir.
Yeah, just a moment. Right. So let us brief, like today's topic is titled Needs, Scope and Challenges for the Employment of Persons with Autism Spectrum Disorder. And just a brief introduction about this topic and also know the relevance of it in the Indian context. As far as entry into the any job sector is concerned, we know that the Rights of Persons with Disability Act 2016 and earlier the National Trust Act 1999, they have highlighted the challenges faced by persons who have been diagnosed with ASD in various domains of the societal life, and also the importance of including them in the mainstream. And Section 32 specifically of the RPWD Act, it mandates all the government-funded education institutions, including the higher education institutions, to reserve a minimum of 5% seats for persons with disability. So within this 5% seats that are allocated, the persons who have been diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder can get entry into all courses, thus enhancing the scope for employment in the open sector. We also see that Section 19 of the RPWD legislation mandates the appropriate government to formulate schemes and programs, including financial support at concessional rates, to facilitate and support the employment of persons with disabilities, especially for the vocational training and self-employment. And the inclusion of persons with ASD under various such schemes meant for persons with disabilities is not great for a range of reasons. So there is need for research to find causes for the same and also solutions which involve all the relevant stakeholders. So when we look at the quota, the reservation quota that is mentioned as per the Section 34 of the RPWD Act, they mention a minimum of 4% reservation for all the persons with disabilities. And in that, the 4%, we can see that 1% is shared by persons with a diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder, specific learning disability, intellectual disability, multiple disabilities, and mental illness. So this is again, in terms of the prevalence, this is a large group of people with various neurodevelopmental conditions and mental illness. So if we apportion that to respective conditions, the actual provision of the reservation support is, we can say, very minimal. Also, there have been the Government of India, Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, they have a portal where the list of posts which are suitable for persons with ASD is mentioned. The web link is mentioned on the slide, and also the DOPT on the employment of PWD, they have made public at their website, which is dopt.gov.in. Employment vacancies we can just find in the employment news. Also, some of the institutions themselves on their websites may announce the employment vacancies. So this is one example. the assistant professor position in computer science being reserved for a person with ASD, and that such posts which are reserved should be filled up with a person who meets the eligibility criteria for that particular disability. And only if there are no qualified persons, the others can be offered this position. Also, we see that the employment exchanges which have been created specifically for persons with disabilities across all the states. And also there is another initiative which is called the National Career Service. The National Career Service, the person can register on the web portal, dedicated web portal. And finally, this issue with regards to the government employment, we talked about a certain, reservations, quotas, and some of the challenges with that. And the private sector, actually, in the Indian context, we see that now it is growing at a very rapid pace. And over the, especially last decade or so, the private sector in various areas, it has grown, and many of the things have got privatized, and there is employment in those areas also under the private sector. But there are a lot of barriers for inclusion of persons with ASD and their training, placement, and support at workplace in the private sector. So as part of this lecture, Shubhonit would be discussing the experiences of the Action for Autism team in the field of training, provision of support at the workplace, and also the placement issues and the challenges associated with that. So about Shubhonit, he's done his graduation in psychology and is a job coach at Action for Autism. And by nature, he's a very creative person and is sensitive person, witty in nature. And also he's a very natural ally to young adults who are on the spectrum. He has been part of the AFA team for 2 years now. And in addition to training and supporting young adults in work skills, he also helps them with recognizing their personal strengths and talents and to build upon them. So with that, I hand over to Shubhonit and request him to kindly start his session. And Shubhonit, you will have 30 to 35 minutes for your presentation. And sorry, about 1 hour's time for your presentation. And I think right now it is around 2:15. So I would request you to kindly complete your presentation by around 3:15. So that we can spend at least half an hour to 45 minutes, half an hour to 40 minutes in discussion. I'm sure that this topic is very interesting. At the same time, there will be definitely lots and lots of questions and the personal experiences of all the participants as part of their work experience with persons who have been diagnosed with autism, and there may be actually personal experiences also of family members. So I would request all of you to enrich today's learning with your active participation and discussion. Over to Shubhonit.
Thank you so much, John, for your kind words. A very warm welcome to everyone and a very good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope that you have a great afternoon with me today. So I'll just get straight into the topic. So before I start with the topic, I would like to speak very briefly about my organization, Action for Autism. So Action for Autism started as a parent support group in the early 90s, and in 1994 it got recognized as a not-for-profit organization. And after working in several parts of Delhi, we finally settled in 2005 at our current campus, which is in Jasola Vihar, New Delhi. And in 2017, Action for Autism started another initiative of assisted living center by the name Ananda, which is in Gurgaon. So the second picture is of that. And we have around 12 residents residing there. So AFA is pioneering as a national center for excellence for more than 30 years now, AFA is a parent-driven organization. We have autistic people on our board members team as well. The seeds of awareness, which was sown in the early 90s, have been bearing fruits. And today we have autistic voices, self-advocates who speak for themselves and define autism in its truest term. As an organization, all our belief stems from having respect, dignity, and a meaningful life. We believe in accepting differences, to be different and to be proud of it. AFA has set up a model where it works in small batches and focuses on the skills of the individual and help them evolve those skills and lead a better life forward. To talk about some of the services that Action for Autism provides. So we have direct services under which we have diagnosis, we have assessments, we have intervention sessions based on the challenges and needs of the individual. We have counseling, we have early intervention services, and I have put up some of the pictures of that. Under advocacy and legislation, AFA fights for the rights of the individual on the spectrum, helping them to advocate for themselves, talk about their autism, accepting differences, both as an individual and as a whole society. Assisted living, as I earlier mentioned, so we have our campus in Gurgaon. We have around 12 residents residing there who are leading a life away from home, and they are learning a lot of life skills and vocational skills. AFA also has a research department, and it has collaborated with many universities and institutions such as UCLA, MIT, All India Institute of Medical Sciences. And since we are RCI recognized as well, we have our own Bachelor's of Education and Diploma trainings in autism. And last but not the least is the Work and Employment Department, of which I am also part of. So under the Work and Employment Initiative, we have our Aadhaar Vocational Center, where we have around 17 interns who are working. We also have our own employment readiness program. So this is a soft skills training program to know what are the things that I need to learn before employment. I'll be talking about those skills in detail in the coming slides. And once we see that someone is getting an employment opportunity or an internship, so we provide support through their employment. So we have our supported employment initiative also, and we have on-the-job trainings. So when a person is going out for work, we help them in training through their job. So before I start talking about employment, I would like all of my audience members to think of some of these questions that I'm going to put up on the screen. Why do we work? Do you think autistic people can work? Why do you think they can sustain at any workplace? And if you think they can't, why do you think they cannot sustain at any workplace? What helps autistic people sustain at work? So just take a moment to think about all these questions, and I would be answering them in the coming slides again. So to talk about employment opportunities, so there are 4 different categories of employment opportunities that are there. So the first one is sheltered workplace. So at AFA, we have our Aadhaar Vocational Center, as I talked about. So we have 17 interns working there. Then there is supported employment. In the previous financial year, we have successfully placed, we have supported 11 candidates who've been in their employment. Then we have open employment. So supports provided by AFA through its program helps these candidates to work independently. And last but not the least, we have self-employment, home-based employment, or we can also call it an entrepreneurial venture, where during the pandemic, many of these individuals on the spectrum, they recognized their strength and they decided to work on their own, or they started to work from home. They started their own own initiative. And I'll be speaking about each of these employment opportunities in detail. So to start with, before I go into that, I would like to highlight on some of the soft skills and life skills that are needed for employment. And I would like the audience to think of how these skills are also necessary and valuable to us as a typical person when we are going for employment or when we are in our own careers. So the first one is time management, a very necessary skill that is required at any job. Money management, handling money, getting a salary, planning for my future. Conversation skills, again, a very important aspect. I think a lot of us typical people also have difficulties in having conversations, when it comes to a supervisor or we have to take a leave or something. So conversation skills, another very important aspect of employment. Context of my surroundings. So this is something very important when it comes to autism. So we are aware that autistic individuals have difficulty in understanding context. So understanding the context of my surrounding is very important because suppose I'm going to a workplace and I see that my supervisor is wearing a coat and tie, but there is another person who's coming to the office and he's wearing casual clothes. So I'm not able to understand why is this happening? Why is this person wearing a casual dress, and why is my supervisor wearing formal clothes? So I'm not able to understand that context. So to get an idea of what context means and how do we help them in providing that context. So it's very important. Understanding relationships, again, who is my supervisor, who is my colleague, who are the co-workers I'm going to work with, who are the community helpers that are there to assist me, to help me, what kind of conversation I can have with them, what are the things I can share with them, what information I can talk to about with my colleague. Is my colleague my friend? Is the person who's my community helper, is he my friend? So understanding those relationships. Emotions regulation, again, very important part. Sometimes we all feel bothered or frustrated, or sometimes we feel very happy when we achieve something at our job. So how do I manage those emotions? How do I express myself when I'm in a workplace? How do I let someone know I am having this feeling right now, and how do I express that feeling to someone? And last but not the least, again, self-awareness, knowing about myself, knowing about my strengths. Why am I so important to this organization? Why am I part of this institution where I'm working? What is my strength? What are my challenges? What are some of the difficulties that I face? Talking about that, knowing about my strengths, my challenges, talking about it to the other people, knowing about how my personality is. So that's very important aspect, which is again related to employment. So these are some of the basic soft skills and life skills that we focus on when we are going ahead for employment, or when we are thinking about going forward in life for some sort of employment. Now, to specifically talk about each of these employment opportunities, first one is sheltered workplace. So sheltered workplace is a workplace where individuals have more control over the environment. So when I say control, it means that there are some sort of supports that are difficult to be provided in a mainstream work environment. It could be some sensory difficulty that I have. It could be that I need a specific way to sit. I need a specific sort of arrangement for working. So a sheltered workplace helps individual providing that sort of environment, and the environment is based more as per the individual's need. So the individual has more control over it. Again, where needs can't be supported within mainstream work environment. And these are ideal for those who are on higher support needs, and those who are yet not ready for supported or open employment. So they get to learn a lot of things that are related to employment when they come to a sheltered workplace. And it also helps them in building self-esteem, respect for myself and others. So when I say that, building self-esteem, if we think about the first day when we went for job, the whole idea that now I'm going to work, now I'm going to be an employee, now I would be a working man or a woman, that self-esteem, that pride that we have, the respect that we have for ourselves, that I am earning for myself, I am earning for my family, I am spending money on my family, that respect, that self-esteem, that privilege in life. So sheltered workplace helps a lot of individuals who are on higher support need, who are yet not ready for open or supported employment, to, build these privileges, build these esteems and respect for themselves. And also with that, sheltered workplace helps in learning a lot of work behaviors. So what are work behaviors? I would be talking that in the coming slide. Again, it gives me a purpose in life and overall growth. So we don't always, we all need a higher purpose, but we also need an everyday purpose in life. Why am I going today and working? So I have a reason. I have to finish this work. Yesterday I did something. Now I want to complete it. I want to see how I have worked today, how the product has come out that I have made today. So sheltered workplace helps in giving that purpose in life and understanding that overall growth. Also, over the years, I've worked on this. I've learned this skill. I have acquired this skill. Now I am good at it. I'm one of the best persons to make this particular product. So to have those purposes in life, to celebrate someone's birthday. So today I'm going to the office, not just to work, but today is my best colleague's birthday. So I want to celebrate that. So having that purpose in life. And the goal is to understand and become self-sustained, so that the individual is able to understand that, I have a responsibility towards myself. I have to work for myself. I need to work. So sheltered workplace helps in understanding and building a lot of these things. Now to talk about some of the specific skills that are learned in a sheltered workplace. So I'll focus on the soft skills first. Learning work behaviors like how long can I sit and work? So we have individuals who can sit for just 5 minutes and then they need a 15 minutes break. Or we may have individuals who can sit for hours and hours and keep working and they don't need any break. So for them to understand how long can I sit and how long can I work. So if I'm sitting for 5 minutes and I'm working and I'm having a 10-15 minutes break, my goal is to learn how to sit for the 6th minute, for the 7th minute, and take a little lesser break. And slowly we develop on these skills, and we see that individuals are working for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, and they are able to sit and work for a longer time. And also those individuals who are working for longer hours, they learning how to take a break. What does a break mean? So that again is some of the work behaviors we focus on. What do I do at work and in break? So again, when I am working, what are you exactly making me do at that time? Why is this activity called work? So focusing on that, what work am I doing? Am I making progress at my work? And when I am taking a break, what are the things I can do? Maybe there's something that I like and I want to do it right now, but then I see that, oh, I have to finish this work and then I can go for break. So having that concept, understanding those concepts that right now I am working, and after that, after 5 minutes, I have a break and I can enjoy this activity. So we learn some of these skills. Again, learning to communicate for my needs. So needs like I need help. So a lot of times autistic individuals have difficulty in conveying that they need help. I'm not feeling good because so and so. So again, expressing myself, expressing my emotions, telling someone that I am not feeling good about something, or I am feeling good about something. And why am I feeling so? So again, advocating for myself, seeking attention, calling out someone, going to the washroom. So how do I call out someone? Do I call that person's name? Do I show some behavior? Or do I make some sound? Or do I do something else? So I'm learning how to seek someone's attention. How do I call someone? Do I call them sir, ma'am, or do I say excuse me? All those things. Then again, working in a group or as a team. I think someone is. So focusing on the life skills. So when we come at sheltered workplace, we are learning a lot of life skills as well, like interacting with others. So I'm not just working here alone, but there are a bunch of other people I am interacting with. I'm working with them. I'm working in a group. So when I'm working in a group, a part of activity I am doing and the other person is doing another part, and I'm interacting with that person. I'm interacting with people during lunch breaks. I'm socializing with other people. Managing outside home. So again, For those who are on higher support needs, for them to come out of their house and manage things by themselves, going to the washroom, asking for help, expressing myself to a new person, going outside home with a purpose, again, which I talked about earlier, that I'm going out for work. Today I have this thing to do, so I have to go. Celebrating birthdays and festivals. So when I talk about celebrating birthdays and festivals, a lot of times I've seen many individuals, they want to celebrate that friend's birthday because they can get to wear their favorite dress. They can all get to dress up nicely. Maybe they can get to put up some makeup. Maybe, I can get to put on some perfume. Today is a nice day at work. Today we all are celebrating. So being part of a social activity or to be part of an event, then earning money for myself and spending it. Again, I am working for something and I'm making money out of it. So I'll share a very good example. So at our Aadhaar Vocational Center, we have different people assigned for making tea, and sometimes some of them are not able to make that good tea. And one day this candidate realized that, oh, I'm not getting orders, so I'll not be able to make money. I need to work on this. So then he worked on himself and he started making better tea and he got more and more orders and he was earning more money. So understanding those concepts, how do I earn more money and how do I spend that money? So these are some of the skills that we learn at a sheltered workplace. Moving on ahead. So this is a picture of our Aadhaar Vocational Center. It's from a few months back when we were just coming out of COVID and we had recently started our center. So we were working on a hybrid mode. Some of the interns were attending sessions online, while some of them were coming to the office and they were working. So it was a very nice mix to see that, our individuals, they learned so well to work on this hybrid mode. They are attending sessions online also, and they are coming and working offline. So adapting to that change was a very big learning for all of us. Here are some videos. Again, so in the first picture, you can see there's a person who's making tea. So, and in the second picture, we see that there's an individual who's working individually. And in the third video, we are seeing that I am doing a group activity where I'm involved with others. So everyone has got each step to do. Everyone is kind of codependent on each other when they are working. Now moving on ahead towards supported employment. So supported employment is where a person is working in an actual job environment with all the other neurodiverse people. So it's not just me, it's other people as well. I'm working with a group of typical people also. I'm working with all kinds of people. So it's like an actual job environment where I'm working, but with some support. I'll be talking more about those supports. Here the employer is aware of the diagnosis. So the person who's hiring me, my organization, my supervisor, my colleagues, all the people in the office are aware that I am an autistic individual. They are aware of my diagnosis. And some adjustments are made for the autistic employee. And these adjustments are in physical structures and in routines that are made. So again, to give an example, I think earlier in June, I have been working with a candidate who had this experience of working for 8-9 hours. But for him to come back and work again for 8 hours straight was very difficult. So the organization made some adjustment. Initially, he started working from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., then 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., then 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. And currently he's working from 9 to 5. So he's come back to that stretch of working for 8 hours. So those kind of adjustments are made. Again, if I have difficulty with sound, or if I have a difficulty with light and I can't sit by the window, so I have been given a specific place where I can sit and work, where I'm not getting distracted, by some particular sound or particular light. So those kind of adjustments are made within the organization. Sensitization of peers and colleagues. Again, so my peers, my colleagues, everyone in the organization is aware of my diagnosis. They know what are my strengths, what are my challenges. They are aware of my skills why am I working in this organization? So everyone knows that that's sensitization. I'll be talking in detail about sensitization in a bit. Now, these supports may vary depending on the independence level of a person with autism. So suppose there are two people with autism who are working in the same organization, and maybe one of them needs to work for 6 hours initially. So he would be given that support. But if the other person can manage by himself, so for that person, maybe that support is not needed. Maybe that person needs some other support. So that support is not same for all the individuals. It may vary depending on their independence levels and depending on the challenges and strengths of the autistic person. Now, these are some of the employers we have been working with: McCann World Group, the Lalit Hotel, NatWest Group, Accenture, Lemon Tree Hotels, Mayor Cookwares, Nestle, Amazon, and there are many more. So when I talk about employment, there are many steps that are involved before I go and start working in an organization. So it's not just putting up a resume, giving an interview, and getting hired and learning skills and then working. The procedure is a bit more different for an autistic person. So first, we see we are trying to understand the employer and the workplace. So we ask, we get to know why do they want to hire this particular person. Are they willing to hire this person? What are the strengths? What are the things that they are looking for? What are the skills they are looking for? Then, understanding the workplace, whether that workplace is suitable for that individual or not. So we've had many organizations who want to hire, who are willing to hire, who are ready to provide supports to the autistic person, but the workplace is such that it's too small, it's too crowded, or maybe there's a lot of noise and it's difficult for an autistic person to manage himself there. So workplace again plays a very important role, whether that workplace is suitable for an autistic person to work. So then once we are able to understand the employer and the workplace, the second step comes job mapping. So basically we are understanding what exactly am I going to do? What work are you going to give it to me? Is that work based on the skills that I have? So understanding those things. If I have to learn something at my workplace, how do I learn that? What kind of structure do I need? What kind of supports or visual supports do I need when I am working in that place? So when we are doing job mapping, we are trying to understand those things. How are we going to help the autistic person sustain at that workplace? Understanding those things. So once that step is done, then comes the sensitization. Again, when we say sensitization, understanding about autism, understanding about autistic strengths, understanding about autistic challenges, understanding about the person who's going to work in that organization. So that comes in sensitization. How can I help the autistic individual when he's working, when he needs help, when he's finding something difficult? So those are the things that we learn when we do sensitization. We talk about those things, and it's a very interactive session where the employers also ask questions about autism or about the autistic person, and they often come back to us and say, oh, I want to help this person, but I think I was not able to explain. So sensitization again is like a bridge between the atypical person and the typical person to understand each other. After that comes familiarization. So we have familiarization visits where the autistic individual goes to the organization, understands how am I going to go to this workplace? How far is it from my home? How do I enter into my office? What do I need to do when I'm entering the office? Whom do I report to? Those are the things. Where do I sit and work? Who is going to sit next to me? Who are the people I am working with? How does my office look like? And again, creating an autism-friendly resources. So that comes under sensitization when we are explaining about autism and their strengths and challenges and how people can help. So we are creating an autism-friendly environment and autism-friendly resources we are creating. It could be visual supports. It could be a person explaining to me in steps And I will be showing some of the pictures of those supports. So how do I create an autism friendly resource? Then parallelly with that, we do trainings in soft skills and necessary job skills. So while I am preparing myself for going to work, I am also learning some of these soft skills that I discussed earlier, managing my time, managing my money, understanding about myself, being aware of my challenges, my strengths, how do I express myself, how do I ask for help, how do I tell someone that I'm finding it difficult, how do I make someone understand that I'm not feeling good right now. So those are the things we cover when we are doing trainings in soft skills and job skills. Then once the person starts working or starts going to the work, he or she is getting familiar with the work. What am I going there for? What am I going to do there every day when I'm working? What are the work that they are going to give it to me every day? Who am I going and reporting every day to? Who is going to give me work today? Who's my supervisor? Who's my manager? Understanding those things and the work environment also. So I am working from suppose 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Where do I go for lunch? Can I buy lunch from the canteen, or is there any other place where I can buy lunch from? Where do I sit and have lunch? Is that environment friendly for me? So with the employment or internship, when the person starts working in a particular organization, there are some of the supports that we provide. So getting those necessary supports to sustain or manage at work when I'm working. So I need certain supports, I need some information. So we all are aware that autistic individuals need a lot of predictability. So how am I giving that predictability to the person, to the autistic person who's working? And how am I providing the long-term support for the autistic person to sustain at that work, to do that job for coming years? So this is the approach for employment that we have. So I was talking a lot about supports. So here are some visuals. So again, as I mentioned, autistic people need a lot of predictability. It's difficult for them to manage changes. There's a lot of anxiety when we don't have predictability. When an autistic person is not able to predict something, there's a lot of anxiety. So it's very important that we provide these supports to them when they are going for employment or when they are working. So one of the major support that works for any autistic person is a schedule, that I am getting to know what am I going to do, when am I going to do, where am I going to do, with whom I am going to do. So all those information I'm getting. So in the first schedule, you can see here what to do, where do I do it, entrance, cafeteria, workflow, cafeteria again. Who am I reporting to? So that is also mentioned. And in the second schedule, you can see. So it's not necessary that everyone can read. So providing visual supports works better for autistic individuals. They are stronger visual learners. So visual supports work much better. So here is a schedule again. So we have written it down as well, but we have visuals as well. So this is a schedule of a person who's working in the hospitality sector. So the pictures are of those places where he has to go and work. And with this, he's able to understand. And also with these, we oftentimes give alarm. We put alarm. When am I going for break? So I have lunch at 1 o'clock. How do I know that it's 1 o'clock? My alarm rings and I know that it's 1 o'clock. I can go for lunch. My alarm rings again. I know that my lunch time is over. I have to go back to work. Okay, volume meter, a very important support. How do I know at what volume do I need to speak? So suppose if I am working in an industrial setup where there's a lot of noise and I am using talking voice and I'm just speaking at my normal voice volume, is the other person able to understand me? So there I need to learn to use my raised voice or speak loudly when I'm working in such a setup. Or if I am working in an office where everyone works quietly or everyone is doing some focused job, so I need to learn that I have to speak in whisper voice. I need to speak very softly, very slowly, because there are other people working there. Or if I am working in a library, I need to know that I have to keep quiet when I'm working. So volume meter helps me to understand what kind of volume I can use when I'm, at a different work setup. So this is another picture of an individual who is attending online meetings. So for him, it was difficult to give verbal answers. So he had prepared prompts for himself. He has prepared a communication board where he has written different prompts. So whenever a question or a query comes to him, he can look up to his communication board and he knows what answer to give. And this has helped the individual to sustain at work, to attend meetings while he is working. Again, so as I said that autistic people have stronger visual memory. Videos help them a lot. So the first one you see is a towel folding video. Again, an example from the hospitality sector. Second one is a very interesting example. So I was working with this candidate, and for him, it was very difficult to understand that, why is it written 012 and 012. So for him, it was difficult to understand, where do I go to have tea? Where is my cafeteria? And he was confused and he's going up and down the lift, and the poor fellow had a lot of trouble. So we had put this as a support. We had marked this separately that this is my cafeteria. So when I click on this button, it will take me to my cafeteria. When I click on the other button, it will take me to the laundry section. So the third picture again, steps. So when I'm doing an activity, I need to know specifically what do I need to do, in a very short and broken way of task. So this is a very task analyzed step here. So I clean the bell on the edges, then I clean the telephone counter, then counter table, then I clean the telephone counter. So all these steps are mentioned. How do I clean this particular area? So that's mentioned what step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. So that again helps me to predict how do I work. Now, some of the soft skills and life skills that we focus on when we are in supported employment, reaching work on time every day. I think that's a big issue for all of us, even as typical people. So learning, how do I reach on time? When do I finish my breakfast? When do I get ready? How much time do I take in my bathroom? And I'm getting ready. I have to leave at this particular time so that I can reach work on time. And I have to do that every day. So learning that skill, again, very important time management skill. To whom do I report? And how do I report when I reach? Do I need to punch my finger or my thumb when I'm entering? Or is there a facial scanner? Do I need to write somewhere that I have come to the office? So understanding that, informing my managers, supervisors when I've finished my work, when I'm taking leaves, when I have doubt. So I need to know that I need to inform someone when I am having any doubts, when my work is done, when I'm taking a leave. So I know that there is this particular person, he's my supervisor, he's my manager. I need to tell him whenever I have done something, whenever I need a leave or I'm having a difficulty. Staying at work again. So as I mentioned earlier, some of the individuals, they have difficulty in taking breaks, understanding the concept of break. So again, it's a very important skill to learn that I have to work from this particular hour to that particular hour. Then I have a break in between. I can go for my lunch, and my lunch is also fixed. I can't keep sitting and having lunch for so I can't keep sitting and having lunch for 1.5 hours or 2 hours. There's a specific time. I need to finish my lunch in that time, and I have to come back and continue with my work. Again, problem solving when I am finding things difficult. So maybe there are situations where, I don't have someone to help me out or to support me at that particular time because everyone is busy and working. So I need to know, how do I problem solve myself? How do I solve my difficulties on my own? So learning that skill, regulating myself and my feelings at work. So this is something very often which I see that sometimes, there are moments in a job where the whole department or the whole office is working under a lot of pressure. And oftentimes, the supervisor or manager or any colleague could speak in a raised voice. And maybe the autistic individual doesn't like that, or is finding it difficult to understand, why is this person speaking to me in such a harsh tone? Or why is this person speaking to me loudly? So understanding that, regulating myself in those instances, advocating for myself, telling that person that, you can speak a little softly because I'm finding it difficult to understand what you're saying. and I don't like that you are speaking at such a loud voice. Maybe sometimes I am having any difficulty. I'm not able to manage that change as an autistic person. So, conveying those difficulties, regulating myself, taking a break for 5 minutes or 2 minutes to calm myself down and go back to work. Today, if there's a lot of work and I'm not feeling good about it, I'm feeling tired. So again, how do I regulate myself in those situations? Managing my expenses, again, very important aspect. So I have to travel to work. I have to take a e-rickshaw, I have to go to the metro station, I have to travel in the metro. Then I have to take another auto or a rickshaw, and then I have to reach my workplace and I have to pay all this while. So understanding those traveling expenses. A lot of individuals who are working with us, they often support their families as well. So there's a particular amount which they are giving. So how do they manage that expense? And now that I am working, I also want to spend money on myself. So how do I plan those expenses for myself? So we have had many, I think recently we had one candidate who celebrated his own birthday. He invited all of his friends. He was very happy. He spent his own money to celebrate his birthday, which was a great privilege for him. And he had invited everyone. Everyone had got gifts for him. Everyone was cutting cake with him. So I'm working, I'm earning money, and I'm fulfilling, a small dream of mine. So that's giving me another purpose in life. Understanding my relationship with my co-workers. So I am working in an organization where maybe the security guard is very friendly with me, or the driver is very friendly with me. But I work in a different department. So is he my colleague? Is he the person I'm going to work with? Who are the people I'm going to work with? What is my relationship with them? What is my relationship with my manager? What are the things I can share with my manager? What are the things I can tell my manager? What are the things I can talk to about my colleague? And we often see that autistic people have difficulty in understanding what information is personal, what information is not personal. And oftentimes also we see that, sometimes people do take advantage of them as well. So that is also one of the challenges that we see. So understanding what kind of information I cannot share with someone and stopping myself from sharing those information. So with soft skills and life skills, again, we focus on some of the job skills or hard skills. These are the skills that are necessary for a particular job. So if I'm working in the hospitality sector, suppose I'm working in the housekeeping department, so I should know how do I fold the bed, how do I make the bed sheets, how do I fold the towels. If I'm working in a software company, so I should know how to use a particular software. Understanding basic IT skills. So after pandemic, we've seen that there's a lot of growth in work from home. So a lot of these applications have become even more relevant now, writing emails, sending WhatsApp messages, using applications like Zoom, Google Meet, and some of the basic skills also, like, using a photocopy machine, punching my fingerprint when I'm entering the office, swiping my ID card, taking a selfie with everyone else. So those are some of the skills that hard skills or job skills that we focus on. Here are some of the pictures of people working in different sectors. So the first one, again, I talked about the hard skill and the job skill. This person is doing bed making here. Another picture is of a retail setup where this person is using a particular machine to register the product. And there's another particular skill that I have learned here. I am putting on labels on the product. So these are some of the hard skills that I have learned. With the soft skills, obviously, which I focus on when I'm going for work. To talk next about open employment. So open employment, some of the people who are aware of their diagnosis, sometimes they do have a fear of being stigmatized or being marginalized at work because they are different, because they are autistic, and they do not want to share about their autism. So as a result, they keep accommodating as per the work environment, or they keep changing their jobs because they feel that it's difficult for them to explain or talk about their autism. Maybe they are yet not ready, or maybe the work environment is such that it would, it's not very sensitized. They're not ready to understand about autism. So in open employment, the employer may or may not be aware of the diagnosis of the individual. And many of the autistic people in open employment do come to us for counseling and support. So if there's a change in my office, if my manager has changed, if there's a new colleague coming in, how do I deal with those changes? How do I manage when I'm between jobs? So I am working also, but I have a family to take care of, and I'm not able to understand how do I deal with that. So they come for various reasons and for counseling or support, people who are working in open employment. And also when we are talking about open employment, the whole initiative is of the employee and not of the employer. So the employee is making changes in himself as per the work environment and the employer. Okay. Now to talk about some of the challenges that are there in open employment. Again, adjusting and adapting to the work environment. What kind of work am I doing? What are the colleagues who are the colleagues I'm working with? What kind of conversations do the colleague have? Are they speaking very formally, or are they speaking very casually? What kind of language do they use? Adapting to those things. Again, if there's a new manager who's coming in, or if there's a new team of colleagues who have joined in, how do I manage with them? Or if I am going to a new workplace, how do I adapt to that work environment? How do I understand about that particular workplace? So these are some of the challenges that are there. Managing with changes at workplace, change of people, as I mentioned, change of work. So earlier I was told to work in the F&B section of this particular store, but now they're asking me to work in the grocery section. How do I deal with that change? If there's a change in my workspace, so earlier I was working at a place where I had a lot of space, but now where I'm working, the space is too less, or maybe there is some adjustment made, maybe some new department coming up or something happening that my workspace has changed now, and it's being difficult for me to manage that change. Again, advocating for my needs at workplace. So how do I tell someone that I am having this difficulty? How do I tell someone that this is important for me? Or how do I tell someone that I'm not able to understand this thing? Can you please explain it to me in this particular way? So those are some of the challenges. Understanding about my work culture. What kind of work culture are we following? So previous workplace where I was working, everyone was wearing formals. Everyone was speaking English. And now where I've come to work, it's a completely different environment. It's all young people. This looks like more, it doesn't look like very formal office, but it's a very fancy place. Everyone is wearing casual clothes. The work timings are 9 to 5, but people are coming at 12. They're leaving at 8 in the night. They're going out somewhere. So what kind of work culture are we following? That again is a challenge for me to understand. Also, this is something which we've seen that, some of the autistic strengths like being honest, following procedures, following schedule, asking people to follow rules. So, as an autistic strength, I am very honest, and I don't like when people don't follow rules. I find it very difficult, and I point them out. So others may feel rude about it. Other people may not like it. They may think that, I'm pinpointing, or I am someone who keeps poking into the other person. They're not able to understand that, this is something that is part of me. I work this way. I need to follow a particular procedure. I want others to follow this particular procedure. So that again, it becomes a problem or a gap for the autistic individual when he or she is in open employment. And oftentimes, because of these challenges, autistic people are ignored, misunderstood, and they are also labeled for being different. So here's a picture of another individual here. So his employer is aware of his diagnosis, and he's working independently by himself. He's working as a pianist. Now moving on ahead towards self or home-based employment. So such employment are driven by the individuals by themselves. They have a flexibility whenever they want to work, how do they want to work, and they are allowed to make decisions for themselves. They are their own bosses in a way. And some of the challenges that come is in understanding and managing changes when there are a lot of changes happening. So I'll give this one particular example of the individual whose picture I've shared here. So there are certain months when he doesn't get a lot of orders, and then there are certain months when he's getting so many orders that he has to work till late. So managing those changes, understanding that why this change is happening, all of a sudden why people are ordering so many cookies, or why am I getting so many orders, or why am I not getting orders at all right now? Are they not liking my product? So understanding about those changes. How do I structure my task? How do I make this task easy for myself? How do I ask for help? So again, this is something which this particular person had a difficulty with asking for help. Since he's so good at baking, he felt that maybe asking for help is something which I don't want to do. I don't want to ask for help from my mother, but I need someone to be there. I need someone to help me because now there's a lot of work, again a change. So how do I ask for help? And the other works that are associated with it. So talking about other works, so if I'm not just baking cookies, but I am also packaging them, I am putting out the orders, I'm communicating with the customer, I am handling money, I'm doing transaction with them. So there are a lot of other skills involved as well. So some of the soft skills and life skills that we focus on is how to prioritize my work. Again, if I'm getting a lot of orders on a particular day, how do I prioritize my day? I like to watch television at 8 p.m. every evening. That is part of my routine. But today I've got a lot of orders. How do I adjust myself? What do I prioritize more? Do I need to cook right now or bake right now? Or do I need to watch television? How do I manage my time better so that I don't miss out on my television also every day? How do I deal with those changes? So I talked about it earlier. Again, problem solving. How do I problem solve myself when I'm in a particular situation? How do I make a decision for myself? So when I'm managing things alone, so how do I make a decision? What do I need to do? So I need to try something. Maybe that doesn't work. So I need to try something else. So understanding how to make those decisions, learning to understand and structure my environment, learning to communicate for my needs, like conveying my difficulties. Maybe I'm having some difficulty, but I'm working by myself. Now, how do I convey this difficulty? How do I understand that I'm having this difficulty? And I need to ask for help. Again, collaborating and interacting with others. So suppose if I am doing a home-based cooking work, or if I am, doing some freelance work, how do I talk to the other people I'm working? So sometimes as a freelancer, I'm also working with a particular group and they want me to work with them. So how do I collaborate with them? How do I interact with them? How do I work in a group? And maybe sometimes I am working on a project where I need a lot of people to help me out. How do I work as a team leader? And again, focusing on the life skills, managing my work time and my free time. So I need to have a balance between both of them, managing my expenses and my income. So if someone is doing an entrepreneurial venture, so for them to understand, how much money am I earning? How much money do I need to spend? How much money am I able to make for myself, save for myself, regulating myself and expressing for my needs. Again, since I'm working on myself, I am my own boss. I need to understand about understanding my difficulties that I'm having right now. What are the things that I need right now? If I need a break from work, if I need to stop working right now, I need a holiday. So understanding about that, expressing those things and regulating myself when I am working under pressure, when I'm doing a lot of work, when I'm getting a lot of orders and I have to finish this work also, but I'm not feeling good about it. How do I regulate myself during those times? Learning to manage with sudden changes. So maybe for 2-3 days, I did not get any order, but maybe I've got a large order today. So how do I work in that situation? Or I've got a lot of work today. So how do I manage with that sudden change that is coming? So some of the supports that we provide while we are working. So this is of a particular person who was going for a marathon run to Ahmedabad, and he had never been to Ahmedabad, and the parents were not allowed to travel with him. So he knew people. So this is a kind of a work system that this is a kind of ways of working which we have given to this particular person. In Ahmedabad, so-and-so person will be competing with other adults with similar timings. There may be more than one trial. So I'm getting to know what am I going to do there. I'm going for a run, and maybe I have to run for more than one time. And I will be leaving for Ahmedabad on this particular date. So I marked that date on my calendar. Now I can predict for myself, when am I leaving? How much time do I have to prepare for myself? So while going to Ahmedabad, I would be doing a triathlon where I have to cycle for so-and-so meter, I have to swim for so-and-so meter, I have to run for so-and-so meter. And what are the rules that I'm going to follow? So those are some of the supports that are provided while I'm working. So here's a picture of this particular individual who's working at a live counter here. He's making waffles. So that's a skill that he's very good at. And in the other video, we see that he's also learned skills that are not exactly part of his job, but he has learned. So I'm packaging also, I'm giving away products, I'm interacting with the customers as well. Some of the skills that I've, hard skills and soft skills that I've learned while I am at work. So these were the 4 employment opportunities which we talked about, and the skills that we learn when we are in that employment. Now to talk about some of the challenges we face when we are approaching for employment. So one of the mindsets is that only high functioning people can work, which is not true. I think all individuals on the spectrum can work, provided the support they need. Quality of work based on educational qualification. Again, something that we see very often, that person who is more qualified on paper or who's more educated, we think that they are better for this job, or maybe someone else acquires better skills and could actually sustain at that job. Literacy and education are the only important things. So a lot of times we see parents and employers who are focusing only on the education part, and we've seen candidates who are on paper, they are qualified as an engineer or as a doctor, or as a software developer or as a photo editor, but at the same time the person is yet to learn a lot of soft skills about conversation, about managing himself, managing his time. So with literacy and education, the soft skills and life skills are also very important. They are necessary when it comes to employment. Jobs being offered in the hopes of savant skills. So a lot of time employers are in the assumption that, it's an autistic person, he would be very good at finding errors. This so-and-so person would be, very punctual, would be very honest. So they look for these skills, but that's not true for every autistic person. Maybe some of the autistic individuals have those skills, but it's not true for all the autistic individuals. No voice is equal to no job. So there is a mindset again that people who cannot speak, they cannot do a job. Again, provided the right support, all autistic individuals can work. Autism friendly environment, but highly underpaying jobs. This is something which we see very, very often. There are organizations, institutions that claim that they are autistic friendly, but at the same time, they are paying very, very less money. They are paying very, very less, very, very few salary. And it's not just for autistic individuals. I think it's for people with different abilities all across, that the work environment is highly underpaying. Lack of growth in the organization. I see other people getting promotion in my organization, other people learning new skills, other people getting that opportunity to learn new things, but I am not getting that opportunity. I'm doing the same job. I've been working for the same post, and I'm not seeing any growth in the organization. And also many a times, because I'm not seeing growth, I am not getting an increment. My salary is not increasing. Lack of understanding for the need of support. So this happens very often when we are doing supported employment, when we are there as job coaches, providing support at the workplace. As soon as we start fading ourselves, the employers think that, they don't need that support. but it's very important for all of us to understand that the supports that we are providing are very important for autistic individuals. So it's like this spec that I'm wearing. So I wear specs. It's a support that I'm using to see better. So same way for the autistic person, getting that visual support, getting a written schedule, getting a stepwise instruction, getting videos, getting predictable information is very important. And that is a support that they would need throughout to sustain at their work. Also, as John talked about the Rights of Person with Disabilities Act, although there's a 4% quota for people with disabilities in India, but the number of conditions have also increased. So there's an increase in the quota, but then again, the number of conditions have also increased, and the chances of autistic person to be hired under the RPWD Act is still low. So how is employment for people with autism today? Today, it's not all that bad. Today, more employers and organizations do understand and they acknowledge autistic strengths. Employers are willing to hire people with autism and they are willing to cater to their needs. At the same time, the autistic community has become more aware about themselves. They are talking about their strengths and challenges. Today we see more and more advocates coming up and talking about their autism. But nevertheless, there are many more milestones to be achieved, and there's still a long way to go for all of us. And with that, I would like to say thank you to everyone. And maybe I think, Harish, we can open the house for questions.
Yeah, thank you for full presentation. So we'll look at some of the questions initially that have been put in the chat box. Just a moment. Yeah, so there is a question from Nechil Thodi. How frequent is workplace bullying in supported and open employment? And how do you deal with this very important issue of bullying?
Okay, so there are instances of bullying that do happen at particular workplaces. We see that happening. I won't say that happen very often, but yes, at some part of their life, an autistic person or a person with different ability has definitely been bullied. So when we are doing our employment readiness program, or when we are doing the soft skill training, or when we are supporting the individual in their employment, we do teach them how to advocate for themselves, how to speak up for themselves. And if they don't like someone speaking in a harsh tone, we teach them that, how can you speak politely? You can tell your manager or your supervisor, sir, can you please speak a little softly because I'm not finding it very nice. I'm not finding it good. So we do that. Also, if there is a lot of times, if there's a different kind of bullying, we teach them how to problem solve in that situation. What can they do? Whom can they ask for help? So that's again very important. We try to see when we are doing job mapping, there should be one person or one resource person whom they can look up to whenever they are having such difficulty, if they are feeling that they are being bullied. So there's a channel, there's an authority, who's catering to their needs.
The next question is The next question is about a person who is verbal has been asked to talk to donors to get more donations, was not able to get to his goal. And is it a good talk given to the employee with autism? Please suggest. So this question is by Kavita Sharma. Please go ahead.
Kavita, can you please elaborate on this question? I was not able to understand this.
Hello, good afternoon. So this Yeah, hi. So this person is very verbal and he speaks very well. So he has been asked to connect to the donors and ask them to donate again, who have already donated to the organization. So he's been working with one NGO, and this is the task given to him, but for some reason he is not able to get the repeated donations and all that. So he's been questioned for that. So my question is that, is it uh, is it possible that he will be speaking properly, or he will be conveying the content properly, because he's been given the formatted version of the communication to the donors?
So I can understand two things from your question. I think one is a challenge with the communication, which you mentioned, and other thing is that, is it a good idea to take donations again and again, if I'm not wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think in the beginning of my slides, when I talked about AFA's philosophy, so we believe in respect, dignity, and meaningful life. Do you think that, is it dignified or is it respectable for me as an autistic person to ask for donations again and again, or even ask for donations in the first place just because I am different?
Correct. I don't think so.
Also, to answer your second question, so communication, yes, is a challenge for a lot of individuals.
Yeah.
But yes, we use different supports. So as I showed you in the picture also, that we have a communication board, or we give them, some context, or we do some practice during our soft skill training, or when we are in employment. So we do some sort of practice to, how to communicate about my needs. How do I ask for help? All those things we do. So there we cover that goal of how do I communicate about something that I want, or something that I want to express. I hope I answered your question.
Well, to some extent, what could be the other thing that you can suggest for a verbal person in an organization?
This is like in context to what are you asking for suggestion?
For the same person, say for example, he is able to speak so well. What are the other skills that he can be, tasks rather, which he can be given, where his ability is used?
So I think I would rather than focusing on whether the person is verbal or non-verbal, I would rather focus on the skills that the person acquire, the strengths that the person has. If the person can sit for longer hours, do a desk job sitting for longer hours, maybe I could try for some computer-based job. Or if the person is very good with vocational skills, maybe I could learn something of that sort, of some vocational activity. So that completely depends on the strength and skills that the autistic person has, regardless of whether that person is verbal or non-verbal.
Okay. All right. We'll look into it. Thank you.
The next question is about from Dr. Nidhi, who says that the AFA Vocational Center they want to visit. Sir, हम AFA Vocational Center visit करना चाहते हैं. Please बताइए what is the process.
So I think I'll share this on my screen here. So anyone who wants to contact us, you can definitely take a screenshot or write about it. So I've put up the email, I've put up the website, and I put up my our contact numbers as well. So in case you're looking forward to communicating with us, please do feel free. What's the next question? Ms. Sharda says that whose question is that, can you give some examples of jobs in rural areas? Again, I feel that it's a very important question. What are the options available for persons who have been diagnosed with ASD in the rural area, and what are the challenges what we face? I would like to apologize to Sharda. I haven't yet got the opportunity to work in the tier 2 cities or in the rural areas. But definitely there has been some job opportunities with respect to vocational training and vocational activities where a lot of people are working. And as a part of open employment, also a lot of individuals, they do work or they have had some past work experience. There are individuals who come to us for training who have worked in a shop, who've assisted someone in a shop, or who has worked at their who got into their father's business, did some job, or was sitting in the hospitals and writing bills or writing information. So definitely people do work in the rural areas as well. It's just that we've been so limited up till now that I personally haven't come across any such opportunity, but I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, thank you. And there are a couple of related questions, like people asking about the vocational training options that are available in different parts of the country. So there is a specific question about the vocational training for adults with ASD in North India by Dr. Ajini Sharma. And also in the state of Gujarat, are there any opportunities by Michael Vimal Pillai from Ahmedabad? And we have Satyam Bobili who asks about the information about some organizations where we can refer these people for vocational training. I think all of them are related to vocational training centers across the country.
Yeah, I think, if you go to our website, we do have, on our website, we do have that information, which states are having organizations that are working specifically towards autistic people. So you can go to our website and check there state-wise. There's information there of the centers that are working for people with autism. So you can check there, and you can also check for the vocational centers as well. As far as I know, Delhi, AFA is there in Delhi if you want to visit. So,
yeah, thank you. So Kiran has a couple of interesting questions. The first one being, for how long do you need to support the adult in a supported or open employment? A related question, like the percentage success of employment with ASD. And the other question is about sensory and emotional regulation issues, and also the other comorbid disorders like presence of intellectual disability or epilepsy, etc. The impact of that on persons with ASD seeking employment.
Okay. So to answer your first question, how long do you need to support the adults in supported or open employment? So our goal when we are supporting the individuals, our goal is to help them learn skills to be more independent, to move towards independence. And once they're able to manage by themselves, we try to fade ourselves, and we try to make sure that the employers are able to provide that sort of support to them, and they are able to provide that support throughout. Oftentimes, the challenge that we see is, suppose the manager with whom we have done the training, or the supports which we had planned for this particular person. Now, when the manager is changed, there's a new manager coming in. For that person, this is something very new. So yes, there is a constant support that we need to keep providing. And when we talk about open employment, so in open employment, we do not provide any supports. Again, we don't know if the employer is aware of the diagnosis or not, but definitely no support in open employment as such that we are aware of. But in supported employment, we do keep providing constant support, and we try to make the individual as independent as he or she can be, and as far as he can lead the job by himself. So that support keeps declining, but we do keep providing that constant support.
Yeah, thank you, Shubhanit. So I request the participants now to unmute themselves and ask any questions that they may have. And also,
I have a question, sir, before I think allowing other people.
Yeah, please.
Shubhanit, First of all, I really thank you for summarizing. I think the lots of years of experience or years of learnings, which happens in the field as a job coach or when you act as a case manager for them to understand minute needs, nuances of overcoming certain challenges which others perhaps easily would overcome. So I have a couple of questions. I don't know whether somebody else would also have these kind of things. One is that, as somebody also already had asked, one is that what is, in your experience, the transition period that it took for somebody to learn certain kind of these soft skills so that they were requiring lesser support at the workplace? Whether that is, in addition to that also, the soft skills, sometimes what we learned is that trying to teach them in a environment with like hospital or these kind of places and sending them to external place, assuming that they will use these soft skills, has certain limitations and challenges. So sometimes training soft skills itself would be in the place, may be necessary as on part of job. So what is your experience is one I want to know. The second question is that sometimes we do encounter, because all of these are adults, young persons seeking employment. Once they get into employment, they will also look at other things, that is looking at companionships, forming relationships. So at the workplace, when they do try to interact with other gender people, whether it is supervisors or colleague workers, sometimes it may be seen as inappropriate because the ways that they would present themselves. So I want to know your experiential accounts in these two areas.
So I think I'll answer your first question first. And since it was a long question, maybe I got distracted in between also. So to talk about the first thing, I think we all do need soft skill training throughout our life, depending on what job we are doing. So I guess there are a lot of doctors here. So as doctors, when you're working, you come across all different kind of patients. Now, some of them have a lot of anxiety and it's difficult for them. It's difficult for you to communicate with them. How do you manage at that time? How do you communicate about that? So that is something that we keep practicing. So these soft skills, there's no particular transition period. Yes, we focus. So initially when we are doing the training, we focus on all these soft skills that I mentioned. But when we are going into that job, so what are those soft skills that I need to focus on with respect to that job? That becomes more important. So suppose if I am working in the front desk of a hotel, so I need to do a lot of communication. So communication skills or conversation skills is a primary soft skill that I need to focus on. But over the time, when I get good at my communication skills, maybe now I need to learn how to manage money. Now I need to learn how to manage my time. I've been working for so long, sometimes I feel, all of us feel frustrated or irritated, or, we have hard days at job, and, maybe we are not at our best. So how do I regulate myself? So that training, that soft skill practice, that keeps going on. So as we move ahead in the employment, a lot of times individuals, they adapt to the work and the workplace, but that training keeps going on. And to answer your second question about relationships and interacting, I think we should not assume that, it would be inappropriate all the time, because especially with respect to the people with autism, sometimes, yes, people with autism do have some difficulty when it comes to conversation or communicating with other genders. So that's where the relationships, understanding relationship becomes very important, where we discuss who are my supervisor, who are my colleagues. And now if I'm working with my colleague, how much distance do I keep from them? If I'm talking to my colleague, I need to keep 1 arm distance. If I'm talking to a stranger, I need to keep 2 arm distance. I need to stay away from stranger. And it's not always necessary that, we should not look at in a negative sense. If someone is trying to communicate with a person of other gender, I have seen individuals, who are married, to other individuals and they met people in their offices or at their jobs and they are autistic people, they're leading a good life. So, they also have an opportunity to, talk to a girl or talk to a boy. Uh, so I hope I answered your question, Harish.
Hello. There are Aftab Patan and as well as Amba Sethi. They have a couple of questions. So
Sir,
over to Aftab first.
Mr. Michael has sent a question through chat. So we will request Mr. Michael first to unmute and to ask the question. Michael Vimal Pillai.
Yeah. Right.
Good afternoon, everybody. Can you all hear me?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. My question is that do you provide online training in IT-based areas like graphic designing, digital marketing, internet marketing, or any other thing for people who are not located in Delhi? They may be located in some other part of the country.
We don't have any direct training program as of now, but we do keep coming across some sort of trainings. If we have any other, if we have any institute that collaborates with us, we have had institutes who have collaborated with us in the past. So in case you want to check on that, maybe you can follow us on social media because we keep putting up flyers for that. And if in case we have something coming up, we will definitely let you know. But as of now, right now, we don't have any hard skill based training program, but we do have a soft skill training program, which I mentioned earlier, but nothing particular with respect to hard skills.
Do you have any representative in Gujarat or are you interested in, suppose I wish to become a representative in Gujarat for supporting people on the autism spectrum in the areas of work and employment. Are there possibilities of working together?
Definitely, yes. We would love that. And if you're looking for someone in Gujarat, I think you can again check on our website. My colleague Aditi has put up the link also in the chat. You can check with our website. There are many organizations in Gujarat as well who are actively working.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Aftab has asked a question.
Aftab, please go ahead, unmute yourself and ask the question.
Does ADHD comes from family genetics problem?
I think Dr. John perhaps would be a better person to.
Yeah.
Yes, right. So we need to understand that whether it's autism spectrum disorder, intellectual developmental disorder, or ADHD, all these neurodevelopmental conditions, they are probably caused by a complex interplay of several factors. So it could be, we call them as risk factors. So presence of a family history of a developmental condition definitely is one of the risk factors. And it could be a genetic condition, a genetic disorder in some people. But in most people with the neurodevelopmental conditions, even the genetic factors also, there is no single gene that leads to autism or single gene that leads to ADHD or single gene that leads to intellectual disability. There are probably several hundreds of genes that are involved right from the time the child is there in the mother's womb as a fetus, and the brain development happens in the early, what we call the prenatal or antenatal period. From that time, these genetic factors, they may put the child at risk, and they are not the only factors. We need to understand that there are certain other environmental risk factors. Say for conditions like autism and ADHD, several environmental risk factors also have been explored, like use of substances by the mother, like smoking or use of alcohol during the pregnancy, or even things like maternal hypertension or diabetes, mother having stress during pregnancy. In the immediate postnatal period, the baby having certain infections, or the baby developing seizures, which is a neurological condition, etc. So this is something we need to understand and then communicate to the families also, saying that there are multiple probably risk and etiological factors and pathways, and it's definitely not a single causation, like saying that, like in the case of some of the medical conditions, say for example infections. The COVID infection, it's a recent thing. We know that this coronavirus causes the COVID infection. So it's a very a simple cause and effect kind of relationship. That is not the case with the neurodevelopmental conditions. Amba Sethi has a question. Madam, please unmute yourself and go ahead and ask the question.
Thank you, sir. So I wanted to ask if even the PG residents doing post-graduation, are they given any kind of provisions if they are on the autism spectrum disorder? Number one. And second, if yes, which are the places which can like provide the certificate? And even private institutions like doing post-graduation from a private hospital, do they also give support for the residents?
So I think, John, that the question is related to your RPWA Act. If you would like to answer that.
Yeah. With regards to, I think Dr. Harish can correct me in this. So with regards to these graduate or postgraduate students, once they are diagnosed with any condition that comes under the disabilities that has been mentioned in the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act 2016, whatever the accommodations or things that are included under that, it is applicable to them. So, for example, somebody who is doing a post-graduation, in terms of the reservation for the post-graduation seats, sometimes like those who have finished graduation, government institutions, they offer that like the persons with the disability category under that PWD category, the reservations, and they can avail it. And also once they finish the post-graduation for the employment purposes also, especially the Act applies to the government institutions as of now, and also of course to private institutions. The government institutions, that clear notifications are there which have come out, and in my introductory slides I had presented that, so they can avail of that. The private sector actually, though, they also have to, as per the policies and legislations, have to provide that, and sometimes we see that there are a lot of barriers and challenges. In some places it is provided, sometimes it is not provided. So what the person who has this diagnosis of any developmental condition has to remember, and also their family, is that it's their right, and they should seek that, and they should obtain that. And it's not something we are doing a favor for that person or their family. Harish, you could probably add something to that.
Yeah, a slight clarification here. Is it the question about people who have autism and who wants to enter into graduation or post-graduation qualification, or is it people who want to learn more about autism in their PG qualification or PG degrees?
No. Who's going to do PG after MBBS? Who is given? Actually, my daughter, she has given her NEET pre-PG, and we are going to start counseling on 1st, and till very late, even till she gave the NEET pre-PG exam, we didn't realize. It was just now that we realized that she's on the autism spectrum disorder, right? So
you are asking about someone who is on spectrum and utilizing the reservation. So here,
not utilizing, because we didn't know that she had that. It was diagnosed after she gave her pre-PG exam. So somebody told me that unless and until you have tick marked when you're filling the form for NEET pre-PG, unless and until you have tick marked person with disabilities, you will not get the reservation, right? So I think the reservation point is now out of question. That is what I have learned. I don't know how correct it is. So because till then it was not, we used to wonder whether it is, anxiety, whether it was what we just recently went to Mumbai and consulted, and we realized that she's on the spectrum, right? So now the question is that the PG result is out and the counseling for the post-graduation is going to start from 1st of September, right? But certainly we would, even if it's a private institution where she gets her, she's got a good rank, but even if it's a private institution where she gets her post-graduation, would there be like people willing to cooperate? Because, residency is very tough. So, how like are private institutions, hospitals willing to cooperate? And if there is a certificate, where can we get the certificate from? Where can we get the certification? Because right now we met a private practitioner in Mumbai, right? So I think this will require something from a government organization. So which are the organizations who are entitled to give us a certificate?
Yeah, I think Shubhanit wants to add something. After that, I will perhaps throw a little more information on the certification, though this is not what we have thought of specifically focused discussion today, but I can give you a little more information which might be useful. Please, Shubhanit.
Yeah, so I think I can answer a part of your question. So, one thing which you can do is you can get a diagnosis assessment. You can get a functional assessment also done. So AFA also does a functional assessment or a diagnosis for people who are on the spectrum. And with that, if you feel that there are institutions where that sort of sensitization is not there, you can ask the institution itself if you can have a sensitization session done for this particular person who's on the spectrum, for everyone else, the peers, the teachers, who understand about autism and how they can help, assist, or understand the person with autism better. So I hope I answered a part of your question.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.
Maybe a little just to add, what I would suggest is that especially one thing that would be useful is that wherever a person who has certain challenges goes and joins, should immediately meet their supervisors or something, expressing their challenges in advance and supporting any justification kind of documents if they have already. That itself would be very important thing for the supervisors to understand certain complex needs of these people and to create some modifications, because especially in a competitive workplaces or in some kind of these places, what we have learned over a period of time is that undisclosed challenges and accommodations provided by seniors to some juniors will raise to challenges in others, that how come we are not getting these concessions and challenges, only one person is being offered. So these are the potential challenges, I'm just saying. So best always would be to talk to the supervisors wherever these persons are going, express their challenges, and sometimes also making a facilitation or contact between the supervisor and the treating clinician would be an ideal thing. So they will tell the exact difficulties and supervisor will understand the genuine need, whatever it is, and would extend their support. So in coming to the second, I think for certification, just I would like to suggest that you can apply in UDID portal, swavalambancard.gov.in, where application gets redirected to the place where you are residing, and the local medical board will call you for assessment and certification.
Thank you so much, sir.
Just would like to add one point to what both Shubhanit and Harish have mentioned, like what is needed, like as Dr. Harish has elaborated very nicely, is getting in touch and also keeping a continuous engagement. That is very important, because it's a process and it's not just a one-off saying that just going and giving a letter or something in the college and assuming that they would immediately understand everything about this person, because given ASD is a complex neurodevelopmental condition. So having a continued engagement and making sure that whatever their concerns or doubts or whatever, and sometimes surprisingly, like we see that no, in those institutions also, the persons with ESD will get a lot of support. So those are also some positive or success stories that are there. So I think to keep that continuous engagement process with good levels of motivation, and also doing everything possible, like in terms of getting the timely diagnostic and functional assessments and the certification, and providing those documents, and making the care providers to discuss with the college authorities, and specific issues like during one is during the regular class times, and especially in a residency training, they may be expected to do some different shifts of duty, and also they may have to work in different hospitals also, sometimes the peripheral hospitals, and within the city or town itself. So all these challenges to anticipate, enumerate, and have the continued engagement.
Thank you so
Mr.
much.
Karthik Jain, I think, has a question. I request Karthik Jain to unmute and ask this question.
Yeah, please go ahead, Karthik. And after that, we have Sharda Singh.
Mr. Karthik.
Yeah, right. So this is me. I'm Parul here. I wanted a little information on, of course, it's not related to the topic directly, but I needed some guidance on sexual needs for adults on the spectrum, high functioning adults. How can I get this information? Will you be able to guide me right now?
So Parul, actually, this is a very good question, and it is related to employment in a way that a lot of times people on the spectrum they have difficulty in understanding what I can do, where I can do, and sometimes they have difficulty in understanding if I'm touching my private parts, where can I do that? And a lot of time we see that parents stigmatize that it's a bad thing, it's a wrong thing, and they have a taboo. But although it's a need as well. So when we are doing our soft skills training as a part of self-awareness, we do cover privacy as a topic as well, where we do teach candidates about hygiene, grooming, different parts of the body that we clean, what are the private parts of my body, what are the private places, what are public places, where can I touch myself, what are the private acts I can do, where can I do it. So yes, we do teach those skills. That again comes as a part of life skill that I am learning about myself. And yes, it is definitely related to employment, because sometimes people on the spectrum do have that difficulty that they do not understand, if I'm touching myself in a public place or in a work environment. And again, also it's again interrelated to relationships also. If I have a colleague of some other gender, or if I have a male colleague, how much distance do I keep? How do I get their attention? Do I touch them on their shoulder? Do I call them out? Do I get very close to them? So those are some of the things that we learn when we are doing our training. So that is why I laid so much emphasis on soft skill training, because these are some of the very minor yet important issues that come when we go forward for employment.
Right, exactly. So so this, it will have to be in the employment training. Is that where it will be? The information on
we do cover it as a part of our employment when we are doing our employment readiness program. But if there's a person who has a particular difficulty regarding sexual needs or sexuality, then we also have separate intervention one-on-one sessions which comes under direct services. So we can cater to that also as a separate session.
Right. So I should be contacting the Action for Autism and asking them for an appointment, or how do I go about it?
Yeah, you can definitely contact us. You can get an appointment. You can share your concern.
Sure. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Request Sharda Singh to kindly unmute herself and ask the question.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir, for such an informative talk. Sir, I'm going back to a very basic question. are these basic skills after which we think that, okay, now this child or this adult with autism spectrum is ready for the employment or for the vocational skills, so that the chances are more on success, So what are that basic skills, or what are signs after which we can think of starting with an employment?
So I think that's a very good question that you asked. So we focus on the soft skills. If an individual is able to manage their time, if they are able to manage communicating about their needs, if they are able to perform those hard skills also in a workplace, if they are able to work for at least 6-8 hours at a workplace, then maybe we would look forward towards supported employment. But in any case, if an individual is getting an employment opportunity and is willing to do it and can do it with whatever challenges the person has, I think it's a good idea to go ahead for employment and understand, because again, a lot of times individuals do get to learn a lot about themselves when they are in that environment. So it's very important, if and when you're getting such and so opportunity, do go ahead with that. So it's not necessary that you need the soft skill training first and then go for employment. We have had many individuals who have had done some sort of job or internship, and then they had some challenge, and they got back to us, and then they did their soft skill training or had some sessions with us. So that support is constant, as I said earlier. But definitely, if an individual feels that they're ready, they have those soft skills which we discussed today, you can go ahead for job.
Okay, so is it basically basic skill, like vocational skill, something to skill, working skills, independent living, and some communication skills? These are the basic things required.
Yes.
And the opportunity to work, of course, in the community.
And if you're still feeling that you have some doubts, maybe you can also do a functional skills assessment. So when we do that assessment, we assess the person on the basis of some particular skills that are required for the job, and on the basis of that assessment, we can suggest open or supported employment, or if the individual needs some time in the shelter, to work in a sheltered workplace to understand the work environment better, we would recommend that also. So I think a functional skills assessment would be a great idea.
Okay, so is it freely available, or we need to purchase?
So it's an assessment.
It is not a scale.
No. It's an assessment which is done.
Okay.
So you can contact if you want to have that assessment done. If you're coming from any other part of the country, you can also check the website. There are many other organizations with whom AFA has collaborated, and they're using similar models as well to cater to their community.
Okay, thank you, sir, so much. Thank you.
Maybe just to add on to this, madam, there is an institute called the National Institute of Empowerment of Persons with Intellectual Disability at Secunderabad, whose website also offers a lot of materials in the PDF format, which for professionals and as well as for family caregivers. So these some kind of functional skill assessments and these ADL kind of assessments also can be carried out just to understand. But always I would suggest you to approach nearby a professional who has this expertise, who may guide you as per the needs, whether it is online or offline. So that is one additional information I just wanted to share with you. Again, I think it's 3:55. I think that definitely we had a lot of learning session today. A lot of people had expressed that it was a very informative webinar. I really thank Shubhanit and your team when we had initiated contact to your team. I think Dr. Nidhi also was very responsive. Immediately we were able to have some kind of conversation with you, and we planned this. I also want to thank my junior colleagues, Ms. Kanta Doshi, who could not join because of her other PhD works, and Dr. Sujay, who is our senior resident, who took a lot of effort in the background work of preparing the flyer, sending it to all, collecting the registration, sharing the links and those things. Finally, I just want again hand over to Dr. John for concluding remarks.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Harish. And all of us, we agree that it was a wonderful presentation by Shubhaneet. And the topic in itself, is it requires our continued efforts, as all of us in some form when we work with persons who have been diagnosed with autism spectrum, and also when we work with the families closely. And I think there is continued discussions are required. This is not something which I personally believe, though the lecture was very informative. So going ahead, I think we should continue to learn more about this area. In fact, I appreciate the good work that is being done by the Action for Autism organization. And of course, the resources, whatever Shubhaneet shared, I request all the participants to go through that. In the coming years, actually, especially in our country, more and more efforts will be required. Though we initially talked about all these policy, legislations and frameworks and all those things, unless sustained efforts are there, the rights of these people, and also the caregivers and the families, their challenges what they face, unless continued efforts are there, we will not be able to address that properly. So with that, I thank all the participants for actively participating in today's session. And I thank the Psychiatry Rehabilitation Services team at NIMHANS for providing me this opportunity to chair this very important topic. And thanks to Shubhaneet for an excellent presentation. And good evening to all, and have a nice day.
Just before ending, sir, we will also share the information about forthcoming R2R session with all the participants through email and flyers. This will be uploaded soon after editing through our telepsych team, which will be available in YouTube in a few more days for anybody who would like to watch. You may share this link also in future. Thank you, one and all, again.
Thank you. Thank you.